Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
To TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was not only the go-home show before TLC this Sunday, but it was also the Slammy Awards. And I have to say, with all that going on, this is a pretty average episode of Raw. I didn't loathe it by any means, but considering that this was a go-home show before a pay-per-view and an award show on top of that, so you figured they'd kind of have an atmosphere going for it, I really don't think they capitalized at all, and this seemed pretty par for the course. What'd you think, Ashton?
Well, I think that you kind of have to, and I'm really struggling with this, but I think that you really do have to try to compartmentalize the actual content of this Raw and the Slammy Awards. And you said you didn't hate this Raw. Well, I absolutely despise the Slammy Awards and really everything that they represent, because everything is so just casual fan pandering and company friendly, and I just can't handle it. But the show itself, I feel like it wasn't that bad, but there was just such little content that I don't even know what to feel.
Right, I can totally understand that. I feel like this is a pretty bare bones episode, to be honest. We're looking at purely from a content standpoint. Really, ironically enough, the standout segment to me was the one revolving around what's presumed to be the main event of the pay-per-view. You know, the TLC match between Ambrose and Bray Wyatt, which we'll get to a little bit later. But for now, I guess we'll open up with our first segment, Heat of the Night. And again, didn't loathe this Raw by any means. I was just really mad for the entire 3 hours, so no Heats of the Night tonight for me.
Yeah, like I said, if I have to compartmentalize the Slammy Awards from this actual show, I can't say I have any Heats of the Night, but the Slammy Awards were just awful.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're establishing then that you have 0 Heats of the Night then tonight.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so with that said, let us get right into our SmackDown recap. And, SmackDown, while it was a good show, as usual, I'm having trouble recollecting things that happened. I do know one big thing that happened because I called this happening. We did get Ziggler versus Luke Harper established for TLC in a ladder match after they had another bout that I believe ended in Harper getting DQ'd. So now they're going to settle their issues for the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match. And you know what? I'm going to be honest, maybe to the surprise of some people, I wouldn't sleep on this match this Sunday. I think if given 15 minutes, this could really steal the show.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this one, actually. In fact, if I'm really being honest with people, this may be one of the matches that I'm looking forward to most on this card. So, yeah.
I gotta tell you, man, I'm not really looking forward to this show that much. I think that the real selling point is Ambrose Wyatt, and I haven't been able to kind of force myself to care about that feud or that match or anything involving them. And I obviously I'm a big fan of Ambrose, but I just don't care about what's going on between him and Wyatt right now. They had a really cool moment tonight on Raw, and then we have the ladder match and the steel step match and the tables match, and I honestly just can't find a care in the world for any of it.
And I can understand that. You know, I think it's very hard, and not to be that guy, but I guess hell I will be, when you know that NXT or Evolution is the same week.
Well, and really,
at, you know,
to kind of even pile on top of that, we just had Chikara Tomorrow Never Dies on Saturday, and then Ring of Honor Final Battle, and then coming up we have Lucha Underground and NXT Evolution, and it's like we're getting all this great stuff from sources other than WWE, and it's like all of it is kind of combining to just make the WWE product look way worse by comparison.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. I mean, hell, on Lucha Underground this week, we're getting our first ladder match, which I'm really looking forward to because it features my boy Johnny Mundo, you know? So I've got so many things that I'm looking more forward to than TLC. I mean, again, the two matches that are really to be looked forward to on this card, in my mind, are Harper Ziggler ladder match and, yeah, Bray Wyatt Ambrose TLC, because even Cena Rollins, while it should be a good match, I don't see any reason to believe why Cena's going to lose his number one contendership this close to Rumble. I don't. And maybe that's exactly
if we're
why,
being honest with ourselves, I think the only way that he does is if they use that as a plot device so that the Authority can go up to him and be like, "Oh, John, if you let us back, we'll give you your contendership back."
Yeah, and see, but that would invite so many other questions that I won't even begin to touch here. But you do have a point. It's not that I disagree with you. I just think that opens up another can of worms.
Well, I mean, I think that as of recent, they've been really taking Cena into more of a morally ambiguous kind of character.
Yeah, it does seem like here and there have been little hints. So we'll have to see how
Namely,
that
the fact that he literally never came out to help his team during the Survivor Series lead up.
I know, and tonight when he seemed to be the victim of a beatdown, his team came out to help him. I'm like, wow, what good people, and like still much better.
Dude, it's so weird because I feel like every show since Survivor Series has been building up to Survivor Series, but like we're not going to get another Team Cena versus Team Authority match. So why are they still like why is Team Cena still Team Cena and why are Team Authority still sticking together? Like I just don't get it.
I really don't get it either, my friend. It's pretty perplexing that now with the remnants of the Authority going against, you know, the still unified quote unquote Team Cena, that they're doing a much better job building towards Survivor Series when it's already long since passed, and we're looking towards DLC where the build has been pretty blah by comparison. So yeah, I mean, I mentioned Dolph Ziggler and Harper. What was another segment that happened that you enjoyed from this SmackDown?
The New Day, because I am a total mark for Xavier Woods, specifically in the ring, but also on the mic. And he and Kofi Kingston have a really awesome tag team finisher.
Yeah, they do. It was like a backbreaker double stomp combination, I think.
Yeah, it was
very, very cool. I really, really enjoyed that. You know what? Even though the New Day is kind of what we believed it to be, I have to say that I'm still enjoying it. You know, like I'm having fun with these guys. It's a great assemblage of people. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, man. I mean, honestly, the only other real notable stuff that happened on SmackDown got recapped on Raw anyway. So.
Yeah. So I think with that we can get right into our Monday Night Raw review, and we begin with your we already established, I think, that we're not going to talk about anything Slammys. So can we just go to our first match then, or how do you want to handle this? Because I mean, we opened with Lawler coming out and he introduced Seth Green.
Yeah, this was see, like that's kind of my thing. Is like I didn't even know how I wanted us to handle TWitWoW tonight because honestly, if it was up to me, we would just kind of hit bullet points on stuff that happened, skip over the segments that we normally do because I mean, who's going to be our high spot when we only had 7 matches all night, and then just kind of close it out early, maybe get this done in under an hour, and I'll post it all up in one video.
I mean, yeah, that sounds good, because here's the thing, too. Because of the awards, not only did we just have 7 matches, they were all incredibly brief tonight.
Yeah, the longest match was the main event, and it was a match that started at 10:58 p.m. and ended at 11:08 p.m., so it was literally a 10-minute match.
So, I mean, let's just talk about the things, I guess, that were noteworthy from this Raw, almost as if we were still in, like, a SmackDown recap mindset. I mean, what do you want to talk about first here from this Raw?
Well, I'd like for us to still at least try to stay in order. So, I mean, our first match was Rollins Ziggler.
Right, and this was kind of a conflict because both guys in their own way are pretty hot right now, and I wasn't really a fan of these two being in the ring together, knowing, of course, that Rollins would have to be put over because he has the more significant match on the card. I mean, he's facing Cena this Sunday. That said, it was still a very fun and entertaining match. These guys have phenomenal chemistry, and if they would ever be put in a serious program, well, just shut up and take my money right there. But I think they did a good job of protecting Ziggler here because he was on the top rope at one point. He got pushed off by J&J Security and ate a curb stomp. Rollins, of course, gets the win. Still loving Rollins' heel work. I still love that he's got J&J Security by his side. Whenever he cashes in that Money in the Bank, I mean, I'm going to be very attentive to it, so good stuff.
Yeah, and then we had another Slammy segment, and then we got right into another match, Stardust versus Kofi Kingston. Another really quick match where Kingston won. How did he win, John? With the boom?
He won with a
Trouble in
cross
Paradise.
body.
Yeah. He did do Trouble in Paradise beforehand, though, didn't he?
I believe he did.
Yeah.
I want to say that he did.
Okay. If you want the truth, I paid maybe 60% attention to Raw up until like 10:40ish, and then I paid maybe like 10% attention to Raw.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I said 11:40ish. I meant 10:40ish. So like 2.5 hours in, I completely checked out because Roman Reigns won Superstar of the Year, and I just stopped caring about everything.
Right. So I was a bit more attentive. But I really can't blame him. Again, this is a very blessed show. So Kingston gets.
This is a very blessed show, and WWE couldn't have chosen a better night to put a blessed show on because my favorite football team was on Monday Night Football. So, I mean, even though we were getting blown out in the first half, we ended up making it a game. We only lost by 6 points to a team that a lot of people think is the best in the league.
Yeah, certainly not a bad night when you put it in that perspective. So. Speaking of things that kind of lessen the mood of a bad night, this segment I enjoyed. Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman have a little confrontation. They have a little back and forth because, Heyman has rescinded the acceptance of the apology of Seth Rollins and the authority no longer has his back. So they're teasing that.
Didn't he do this before, though?
He did. That's what I'm saying. So seeing this confrontation now after he's already rescinded that acceptance. Was very interesting because it makes me wonder. Now, I doubt it, of course. I'm not putting any serious stock into it. I think anybody who's heard me talk with you on TWitWoW knows where I'm going with Seth Rollins. But I am wondering if he's going to have maybe one more run-in with Lesnar before all that business is settled because they talk about it again. Rollins pretty much tells Heyman, hey, when I cash in on Lesnar, nobody will see it coming. And Heyman, he doesn't even really give it back to Rollins all that bad. He says, hey, I agree with you that you are the future. Just make sure that Cena's stuck in the past after TLC. That
narrative. I love Heyman trying to pump up somebody that he doesn't even like.
I know, right? Because he sees Cena, I think, as a legitimate threat, especially after that Night of Champions performance, lest we forget.
Bring it up.
Yeah, exactly. But I do love that they're still continuing that whole narrative of Cena's kind of winding down and will he have to step away and all that good crap. I mean, hopefully it doesn't result in him regaining the championship again anytime soon, but I'm interested to see.
Good joke.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it culminates.
And actually, you know what? I don't think that it will end up being him with the title because I think I over the course of the last, I would say, hour and a half, I've completely convinced myself that Roman Reigns is winning the Rumble and then winning the WWE title, and then Rollins is cashing in on him at Mania.
Oh, so you're coming around to my thought process? Cause I've been saying that for a while now.
I've been in denial just because I wanted so badly to believe that the WWE realized that Roman Reigns wasn't ready yet. But after tonight, yeah, it's happening.
I'm just glad you agree with me so far as like the cash in as well, because I've just been feeling that for a while now.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't cash in at WrestleMania, and really, when better to cash in on a newly crowned champion than after he's just gone through a war with Brock Lesnar? But what I was actually getting ready to say is, if he doesn't cash in at Mania, he would only have 2 months before his contract expires.
Right.
So he would have to cash in either at or before Mania, or he's on a really small time clock.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm honestly, if it does pan out that way, though, I'm cool with it because I think it's very different for WrestleMania. I think it makes Rollins look like a beast, and hell, I think it does.
I don't think Money in the Bank's ever been cashed in at Mania before, so that was huge.
Historic for Rollins, and I do think in my own way, maybe.
But John, you got to realize he needs to make Roman look really strong.
Yeah, of course. He's got to kick out of at least like one curb stomp before he takes the title off of him. But
Yeah,
I was
that'll
even
be
getting
the big moment. He'll hit the Reigns will be down, having just won the title before he even gets his hands on the title, and Rollins will hit him with a curb stomp, and he'll manage to somehow kick out before being hit with a second and then losing.
Yeah, and see, I was just getting ready to say that I think it'll even ease up the gas pedal on Roman Reigns. And the biggest objective that I hope it achieves, but this I'm not so certain about, perfect reintroduction for Dean Ambrose. We get our big 3 Shield kind of feud. So here we go.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought that they would have saved that kind of thing for WrestleMania, but I guess not.
Yeah, I think WrestleMania will be the catalyst for it, ironically enough. But yeah, after that.
So do you think that they'll end up doing that at Extreme Rules then, the 3-way?
That's what I've been feeling for a while now, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. Is that sad to anyone else? Like, that's the kind of match that you should save for WrestleMania. And even though we're just predicting at this point, it's very likely to happen. They're probably just going to blow it off at a random in-between pay-per-view. It's just sad, in my opinion.
I mean, Ashton, to me, yeah, you could say that we're predicting, and that's certainly true. I mean, that is what we're doing, but I think the pieces already kind of fallen in place. I mean, Dean Ambrose got screwed at Hell in a Cell by Bray Wyatt, so they left that kind of open ending where Dean didn't get his ultimate comeuppance. Roman Reigns is Superstar of the Year. He's probably going to get the Rumble, which will be in Rollins' crawl, but he'll still have Money in the Bank. It just seems like everything's coming into focus for this to play out.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really surprised we agree on that, but also happy at the same time. Like, go me. So.
Yeah, well, hey, now we can move on. Next thing that we had was an actual an NXT performer playing on Raw or performing on Raw. Charlotte comes up and goes against Natalya. I knew that it would be Natalya. When Charlotte was out, I don't know if you heard me or not because you had your Raw incredibly loud. I could hear it through your microphone. And I said when Charlotte came out, I wonder who they're going to put her against. And the first thing that I said, probably Natalya because of their match at TakeOver.
Yeah, I heard you say that, and then when it wasn't out, you were like, called it,
yeah.
and so yeah. I will say though, it was smart to put these two together for a Raw, but you knew that people.
Or at least it would have been smart to put them together for a Raw if they would have gotten any substantial amount of time whatsoever.
And I was just getting ready to say, well, I believe it was smart because it made Charlotte look good for the brief amount of time they were in together. That's precisely the problem. It was a brief amount of time, so you were going to let
And
a lot
really,
of people...
how good can you look when you get beat in 2 minutes?
Exactly.
By somebody who hasn't been relevant in the title picture in over 2 years.
Yeah. It's just a shame that Natalya and Charlotte couldn't get the time that they got. Like they did at TakeOver.
Yeah.
So, you know, that.
Well, I mean, obviously they weren't getting that much time, but, I mean, if you're going to bring up somebody from NXT, at least let them show their stuff. Charlotte didn't even get to lock in a figure 4 headlock, which is one of the most common things she does in matches.
And it's a shame, too, because this crowd, you could I mean, I don't say this in a bad way, but they seemed like a Mark-esque crowd. But, I mean, they were getting into this, I think. I think just as these women were hitting second gear, this crowd...
Well, yeah, dude, you could see Charlotte was going for a figure 4 leg lock, and the crowd was getting all hyped for it, and then Natalya friggin' cradles her and gets the win.
Yeah. Really just poor management here with these two ladies.
Time management, specifically.
Exactly.
But I will say... the reason that this was not a hit of the night is because of post-match, where Tyson Kidd steals the show.
Yeah, he pretty much goes and mugs all over Natalya's celebration. You know, and it's funny, too, because Charlotte was kind of calling him out at points in the match. She's like, hey, Tyson, so she was antagonizing him, so this really was his victory, you know? So I'm proud of Tyson. You know, standing up for himself and getting that victory. Yeah. And yeah, he's mugging, he's got that troll smile going on, and I just love Tyson, man. He's great.
Best shit-eating grin in the business.
To me, it's, and I don't say this negatively because you know I love NXT, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little miffed that he didn't make the final card. Cause he's
I even said that on Puitoff.
Yeah, it really is a shame that he's not on it, but I digress. He'll get another opportunity, I'm sure, at the next live special.
I'd rather see him and Gabriel versus Balor and Itami than the Ascension versus Balor and Itami.
Yeah.
Although I do understand that they've been building to that.
Oh yeah, and the build really has been tremendous. I can't knock either team for that. But Tyson will be back in the game next live special. I can almost guarantee it.
Maybe. Oh crap.
What?
Maybe Tyson Kidd will be Kevin Owens' opponent.
Maybe, because we don't know how they're going to handle that debut. And hell, it's not a bad debut to have, dude. I mean, I know how you'd work it out, and that's certainly better, but if they do want to give him that kind of an exhibition match or whatever, not a bad start, I don't think. But it could be a lot better. So, here's to hoping. But
all right, so up next we got what did we get, John?
Well, the next relevant thing
the Bray Wyatt promo.
Yeah, the Bray Wyatt promo.
Man, I was so disappointed by this.
Really? Because I thought this was really well done. But
I appreciate the exposition that it provided, but why could this have not happened 2 weeks ago so that when Ambrose busted the chair, it actually meant something?
Yeah, I do agree with you. I do agree with you there because, I mean, it even left me a little confused, like why he got so emotional over a chair. So if you put it in context for all of us, I would have just been like, oh, I get it, and then you would have gotten a bigger return on the investment initially.
I mean, I appreciate Pulp Fiction style storytelling as well as anyone, but this is not the feud for it.
Certainly not, and that's really what Bray Wyatt does here. He does give exposition about the chair, says that it belonged to Abigail. Ambrose took something from him, and it can never be replaced, so he's going to do the same. We recap, Wyatt attacking Ambrose on SmackDown, which I have to admit, it was a well-done attack. I love seeing the viciously out of Bray Wyatt. And he says, we'll all bear witness to his fire at TLC. He pretty much tells the audience, like, none of you mean anything to me. You're just moths that fly towards my flame, but be careful because I'll just end up burning each and every one of you. I loved it. I love that Bray Wyatt, he's no longer straddling that ambiguity, it seems. He's really gone full-blown heel for this feud, which is what I think Ambrose needed to kind of keep his credibility intact. And then it gets really cool because the arena kind of blackens a little bit and you hear...
Yeah, this to me was the best moment of the entire night.
Definitely. I completely agree with you 110%. Because you hear the sirens blaring. And I loved your reaction initially because I had the same one, don't get me wrong. You were like, Cesaro? That's why he needs a theme change. Really. And then, yeah, it turns out to be an ambulance. It comes, and the doors are open, and you see, I think there was, this smoke coming out or whatever, and you see Ambrose still wearing the neck brace, oddly enough. And yeah, these two just go at it, man. Ambrose gets a chair, he throws that around, gets a ladder, tosses that, table, same way. They go at it a little bit. Ultimately, Ambrose gets the upper hand, and, I think he said that the only way that Bray is leaving TLC is in the back of an ambulance. He says that at TLC he's going to be the monster and he's going to eat Wyatt alive. So really cool stuff here from Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, the image of Ambrose coming out of the ambulance with that freaking backlight on him with all the smoke coming out, that was one of the coolest single images that WWE has produced all year this year.
And see, that begs the question, because we know Bray Wyatt, he writes his own promos. We know Ambrose, I think, has got one of the coolest characters for me in the company right now. I have to wonder how much autonomy these two, because they're just such independent thinkers and really imaginative, if they talk this stuff out with certain creative heads in WWE and they're like, oh, we can make my reintroduction really cool with this ambulance, and just, it's really cool to think about because these guys are awesome. And I really do hope.
Yeah, let me just say this. If Dean Ambrose had the idea of having the neck brace on to come out, I don't think I've ever been more disappointed in Dean Ambrose's taste.
Well, I mean...
Because that was an absolutely terrible decision, and that was literally the worst part about it.
But see, the thing is, it's weird you say that, because I think it goes back, though, at the same time, to the biggest credit we give Dean Ambrose. He sells shit forever. And you and I talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but still, the neck brace slowed this segment down completely. First of all, he came out, and it almost ruined the image, because it's you got this gigantic, thick, what looks like a styrofoam thing around Ambrose's neck when he's coming out of the ambulance, and then when he tries to take it off, it's too difficult to pull off, so he ends up having to pull it up over his head, and it just looks weird, and it slows everything down, and it kind of kills some momentum. And I just feel like it would have been a much better decision to, even if you're not going to just ditch the neck brace entirely, at least get one that Ambrose can rip off.
And see, here's my thing. The idea that he ripped it off at all, that's kind of what rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, if you want me to be honest. Because I like that he initially wore it. Because let's remember Wyatt's attack. He wrapped the chair around Ambrose's throat and he slammed it against the steel steps. Like, it looked brutal. So I like that he was keeping that sense of continuity, like Bray really messed him up. And then to only take it away a little while later, it kind of leads me to ultimately agree with you, albeit in a different sense, because he might as well just have come out with not wearing it at all, if he was just going to just rip it off and do whatever. But I will always commend Dean Ambrose for keeping up the act of, oh, this guy really maimed me, or, oh, I'm really hurt, because we need more guys that do that, man. Not enough do it. Or if they do it in such a way that's so tired, like, oh, I'm just wearing all this tape as a bullseye, but I won't I won't sell the actual area that's being punched and kicked on for over 10 minutes. So Dean Ambrose, I think, is a credit in the art of selling, so to speak.
Yeah.
So. All right. After that, what do we? I mean, Renee Young was backstage with Cena. That was the next, non-associative thing with the Slammys.
I feel like John Cena just straight up cut a heel promo here. Like, he basically just said, I'm going to hold the future back as much as I can, and you can go screw yourselves.
I really wish he would say that, because I'd probably pop for that promo. But he always puts this kind of window dressing on it. He calls Show the Authority's puppet. He says
I hate, like, I don't want to say buried because that's such an overused term, but he really went out of his way to make Rollins look weak here.
Well, let's see from the recap here, because
it kind of goes back to the old Randy Orton has a glass jaw days. Like, you just don't say that. Like, he straight up said, Seth Rollins can't pin me, and he can't possibly make me tap out. And, like, he's basically just straight up, like, he's breaking kayfabe almost at this point. Like, oh, everyone knows I'm going to win. But then he does manage to turn it around a little bit, because he talks about how you never know what's going to happen in a table match. Of course, kind of hedging his bets because of the fact that he has a relatively shoddy record in table matches. And he lost the WWE title to a very fresh Sheamus in 2009 in a table match.
Actually, yeah, it's even, like, reading the recap here, he flat out says to Rollins that you're not man enough to make me tap out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Say what you will about Rollins in terms of character ability, whatever. I'm sure some people are greatly impressed by him. Some people are always awful, and some are in between. Me, I'm in the first category. I've been very impressed with how he stepped up and been a heel, and I think he's one of the most and I've said it time and time again. I think he's one of the most credible briefcase holders we've had in some time. But to say that crap after he just got done having a really cool segment where he curb stomps Randy Orton right on steel steps and sends his ass out, and then Cena wants to say that kind of crap. That's the stuff with Cena where he always seems like he may turn a corner with me a little bit, and then he ruins it for himself because he says crap like this. And then I'm just like, wow, John, really? I'm sorry, but guys like Chris Jericho, I keep hearkening back to his first book and that lesson he learned, because he tore down the guy, whatever guy he was working with that show. And the promoter said, what are you doing? If you beat that guy, you're going to look like, well, if that guy beats you, you're going to look like a joke. And if you beat him, what have you done? And I feel like Cena just does not get that because he's in the place where he is, and he really has no reason to care. I mean, really, if we're being honest, he doesn't. The guy's made. What more does he need? So, but that brings up problems like this. So yeah, it does make me root for Rollins more, but as much as I hate to say it, Cena's probably right. And that really sucks.
Yep.
This is another thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, but then again, how they handled it, I forgave it. We got
Rowan Harper
versus Rowan Harper. I really felt like this should have been saved for a pay-per-view. I'm not talking WrestleMania. I just don't think it should have been on a show like this where they were.
Yeah, it seems like it should have been made a bigger deal out of, but I don't know.
I mean, I actually expected these two to feud for the IC title at one point. I still kind of have that idea in mind, but not as strongly as I did before, if I'm being honest.
I appreciate the fact, though, that at least they gave it a disqualification finish so that there was nothing conclusive, and you never know.
Exactly, and that's why I said, the way they handled it did make me back off of my anger a little bit, because Harper does get DQ'd. He uses a ladder, and then he tries to continue the punishment, but Rowan turns it around. He uses the steel steps ultimately to take Harper out, so Rowan stands tall in this segment. Then we go from that, and we see Jimmy Uso backstage with Naomi. Jimmy's, feeling good. They won the Slammys for Tag Team of the Year, barf. And, he says he's really happy to be married to a woman like Naomi. Naomi says she has good news too. She talked to Mrs. Agent. She's gonna go to LA and try out. Jimmy is very distrusting of the whole thing, and Naomi interprets it as, well, you don't trust me either then? He's like, well, that's not what I said, and they have the typical quarrel. So, but I will say, it's pretty par for the course, but I will say I do like that they're trying at least to give the Usos another dimension besides, oh, we're really good and we should be tag team champions, and trying to give more of an emotional side to their program. So I can at least commend it for that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. With that said, what happens next here? Oh yeah, we have Rusev come out because we have a bit more Slammy related stuff. So then after that, Rusev comes out. Lana again cuts an anti-American promo. Usual stuff. Pretty much laughing at Obama, the weaknesses of our country, this and that. Ultimately, Swagger does interrupt them. He says,
"This was so stupid, dude. I get that the WWE has a limited pool of superstars to choose from to create feuds, but the fact that they're literally rehashing the exact same feud that we got in August between Rusev and Swagger is absolutely pathetic."
Yeah, it's really the man I feel for the most is Rusev, because I feel like he's had such a great year, and
it feels like he was going up and up and up and up, and he kind of peaked at the Big Show, and now all of a sudden they're dragging him all the way back down to Jack Swagger. And the worst part about it is not only is it Jack Swagger, but it's Swagger without Zeb.
Dude, Rusev deserves better than this to me.
Yeah.
Because, he's an NXT prospect, and man, at
this point, I know it would be another rehashed feud, but I would be happier with Rusev versus Mark Henry than this crap. Although then again, I guess Mark Henry's a heel, so that wouldn't work. Fine. You know what? Just find someone, anyone. It didn't even, my brain hurts from thinking.
Personally, I'm going to be honest, I almost wish it were WrestleMania season, because my big end game for Rusev, I know we've been saying Cena, and that's probably what's going to happen.
When does Sheamus come back so he can feud with Rusev?
Yeah, either Sheamus to finish his business, or really the WrestleMania end game for me, because I'm still intrigued what Rusev's going to do there.
Why is Ryback feuding with Kane? Kane is worthless right now. Why is Ryback feuding with Rusev?
I was going to say Ryback's my end game. I think Ryback and Rusev should be on a collision course this year. Because Ryback is really over with the crowd, as evidenced by tonight's closing segment. And yeah, Kane isn't doing anything for Ryback stock. If anything, it's hurting it. So that's a lie. It's not that it's not doing anything. It's doing adverse effects to it. And Rusev deserves better than this, man. He has really come into his own this year. I think he's one of my, not in the breakout star is the term. He's one of my breakout stars of the year, because he just proved that he wasn't another big man. He takes care of his business, because Swagger, just to bring it back to the segment, pummels on Rusev, gets him in the Patriot lock, but Rusev doesn't tap out again. This guy.
Dude, this pissed me off so much, because here's the thing. Rusev slammed his hand on the mat one time, and JBL said, "He's tapping out, Mogul. It's not going to do anything."
Yeah. And how many times do we see that in wrestling where the commentator's like, "Oh, did he tap it?" It's like, no, he's trying to focus. He's trying to rally himself. Get those ropes are fighting the pain.
Dude, JBL is the worst.
Yeah, I know you were so irritated about that. And me, I was just like, oh, well, Bradshaw's an idiot on commentary. I love the guy to death, but commentator he is not. But Rusev again, though. Really, I would have, I can't say that I would have forgiven him, but I wouldn't have, I think, taken him to task if he did tap out here, because it was on the outside. It was an assault on a leg. But no, he fights through it, and he's like, no, I'm not giving you the satisfaction. I'm telling you, this guy's a heel. You could have fooled me. Because he's one of the most credible, one of the most legitimate performers we have in that locker room right now. I'm sorry. And I think that's what ticks me off, is you've got a guy that goes out there, openly supports his country in hostile territory, gets the job done, is a champion, and we're rehashing feuds for him. He deserves so much better than this, without question. So yeah, we're gonna do that at TLC. I don't care. I just want to get to Rusev, his road to WrestleMania. That's really all I care about at this point. We have a 6-man tag. Ryback and the Usos win. Of course they do. And that's not even anything because I like Ryback, but I mean, you have the Usos with you. You're not going to lose that. Star of that match was Damian Mizdow. Did some great improvisations here. Particularly my favorite one was when he pretended to get suplexed. Because he sold some right hands before that, and he was stumbling back, and then he set himself up. And he's just great. He's been able to take it higher and higher, and the crowd just loves it. I mean, do you have any comments you want to make about this 6-man before I move on?
About the 6-man, no. I mean, I appreciate the work that Mizdow did, and you nailed it. The one spot that he did with the handstand was pretty cool, but I don't really have anything to talk about here.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear it in you, man. I'm the same way. Again, what is there really? It was bare bones. We go to AJ Lee, Summer Rae. You know, it's a shame. I like both women. I think Summer still has that really great heel Diva's potential in her, but she gets dismantled relatively quickly here. I mean, AJ gets the Black Widow. She gets the win. Surprise, and I don't say this in a negative way. I'm just saying surprising lack of Bellas on this show, too. I don't remember seeing them anywhere.
They had one appearance during the Who is Going to Win Diva of the Year award segment.
Oh, but wasn't that just like a video package, though, like highlighting them, why they were
It wasn't, no, dude, it wasn't even a video segment. It was literally just they showed them in the back with Paige and AJ lined up in a row.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I must have missed that. My apologies, guys.
Titus O'Neil randomly just kind of walked into the room while they were announcing who won. It was really weird.
Oh, yeah, I totally missed that. I'm sorry, guys, because, yeah, I really was attentive to this Raw. I don't know how I would have missed that, but regardless, well, I mean, we do get a little something to make us smile here. We have Mick Foley as Saint Nick, or Saint Mick.
Oh, I loved this, though. I love Saint Mick.
Yeah, Saint Mick is always a pleasure, and his daughter Noelle is just adorable. We'll have to see, you know, what's in her future, because, you know, all that speculation's abound. But that was fun stuff. I loved what he said, like, with whole Stone Cold's catchphrase, and I think Noelle tried changing it up, and he's like, no, that's copyright infringement. Don't infringe on that. And it was just great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as you said, I mean, it really miffed you. We go to our main event, and that was right after Roman Reigns got Superstar of the Year, so yippee on that. Pretty standard show Cena matchup here. I mean, if you were expecting a 5-star matchup, to quote Bad News Barrett, I'm afraid I got some bad news for you. Yeah. Seth Rollins runs out with J&J Security. They attack Cena. Cena, of course, wins by DQ. And it pretty much ends with a brawl with the baby faces and the heels. Notably, Ryback got a nice pop from the crowd. When Big Show was taking care of Eric Rowan, crowd was chanting for Ryback to come out and try and even the odds. And when he did, he got a nice pop for his efforts. So that was really cool. But ultimately, the heels stand tall here. And that was Raw, man. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And I'm glad it's over.
You and me both. And yeah, I mean, like you said, really no need to do high spots, low shots. So I guess really the only segments would be a Raw request.
No, see, that's what I mean. Let's just skip over all that stuff. There's no need for it.
So no, not even 30-second hot seat.
Well, what are we going to say for Raw request? Don't do the Slammys again next week? They're not going to.
Right. So
I mean, the 30-second hot seat would be what match are you looking most forward to on Thursday?
Oh, yeah, well, I can answer you right now. Vaudevillains versus Lucha Dragons. Go Vaudevillains.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. All right, guys, so with that said, I mean, this has been Raw. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Discuss on Pleetoff. You know what? Rather than discussing this Raw, just discuss what you were looking forward to about TLC and, more importantly, NXT Our Evolution, because that's where our train is barreling down next. Because tomorrow night we're doing preview and predictions for the show, and then of course Thursday will be the live reactions. But in between that,
we have our
Lucha Underground review, where Johnny Mundo will face Big Rick and presumably also Prince Puma. in a 3-way ladder match where hanging above the ring will be the briefcase for Johnny Mundo's, just $100,000. Taking that money. All right, so we will see you then,
Taking
guys.
that what, John?
Taking that money.
Money.
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Yeah. That money.
So,
money.
Yeah. And of course we have more than that, but that just was coming up most immediately in the week. So guys, we hope you join us there, because even though this was a lull, there always has to be a lull before business picks up. So be sure you join us.
I can't even
Peace
believe
out.
it's the road to WrestleMania coming up here, dude.
I know, right? And
Oh, man. Everything kicks off at Rumble. I can't wait.
I can't wait either, and let's hope it's far better than this stuff, because if so, then I'm seeing a lot of under construction signs in the future.
I can't wait for Roman Reigns to win the Rumble, Michael.
It's going to be amazing. He's going to beat his own record, get 29 eliminations, going to start at number 1, just eliminate everybody, Michael. So, alright, see you then, guys.